place, but also compete internally. And I think when you talk to some of these returning guys, it was probably the most competition they've had within a group. And you know, there's a lot of things that come into play with that. Position need, health, how things are going to flow, whether it's in a lineup or from a staff standpoint. We've traditionally here had some guys that we've kind of, I don't want to say rode hard, but gone late in games. And I don't necessarily think that that's going to be the case with these guys on the mound, but I think there's going to be some more piggybacking or picking each other up and allowing for more success in smaller chunks, which is also, excuse me, going to allow you to depend on more guys and develop more guys. And I think when you can do that early on, as we talked about, it can allow you to stay healthier through the year, but also maybe hit your stride or be at your strongest part at the end of the year.
The age-old question about college baseball is how can a team from this climate compete, you know, against teams from other warm weather climates? Because the trips to Florida in February, you're there most of the month, right? Does that mitigate that a little bit?
You know, I think it's kind of what you want to make out of it. You know, every team across the country today has a chance to go out and enter squad. Well, some are going to enter squad inside, some are going to enter squad outside. You know, it goes back to the facilities you have. It goes back to the players, the coaching staff. It goes back to what you want to make out of it. Some guys like to use it as a crutch. A team from the north can't do something. I think we've made it a little more difficult for some other teams in the league and a little more difficult for other teams across the country. You know, we're going to open up against Maine this year. The World Series MVP for the Houston Astros came from University of Maine. You know, there are great players up here in the north. There's great programs in the north. There's great programs across the country. Our job is just to prepare our guys the best we can and understand we don't have to be a finished product 3 weeks from now. You know, we're taking BP right now, 3 weeks from now in Sarasota, getting ready for our first game. We just have to be prepared to win that day and then continue to grow each and every day as a group from there on.
You have an indoor batting facility, cage down there, or facility. What about actually this time of year playing games, you know, game situations? I know there's some facilities around the area where you can play baseball year round. Can you do that?
It's amazing what you can do with technology. It's amazing what you can do when you plan and prepare ahead of time. We challenge our guys, not just in the scoreboard game, but within the little games of baseball. Quality at bats, moving runners over, first pitch strikes for pitchers, overall strike percentages. We kind of challenge ourselves early on and making sure that we're very clean in the little things that we can control that are going to go hand in hand in the game of the scoreboard. Yeah, there's some things that we don't get a chance to do on a daily basis, but we do what we can inside. We compete every day, and we strive to get better little by little.
What are some of the things you can do inside besides batting practice?
You name it. You pick something that you can do in the game of baseball, we can do it inside. It's not just our cage, our development center there, but the bubble across the street allows us. I mean, we got cuts and relays right out of the gate today. You know, we can do our bunt Ds. We can do anything and everything.
When you lose a guy like Tatum Levens out of your lineup, obviously to the draft, and there's others too, but
yeah,
that's not only 16 home runs out of the lineup. That's a catcher that's really important defensively. I don't want to say, you know, who's going to be the next in that position, but how do you figure to work around that from both angles on offense and defense?
Well, it's a great question. The question I would have for you is, who was Tate Levens the year before Tate Levens got here? It's always the next man up. It's always a new team. We lose, I believe, 67% of our home runs from last year. It was not only Tate Levens, it was Ron Washington, it was Bryce Hewlett, Brock Franks. It was some great names and great players and great teammates that came through here. And really, when I say this, kind of pushed things over the last couple of years for us. With that being said, we lose 69% of our innings on the mound. Matt Gilbertson's coaching out on the West Coast. Billy Corcoran's pitching in the Diamondbacks organization. Baron Stewart's with the Yankees. But we have guys that we've brought in. We feel that they're talented, and it's going to provide opportunity for those guys. we like what we see. They just haven't done it on the main stage or the conference level. But there are some key returners. You know, when we had some key injuries last year, when you looked out there and, you know, Don Pope was getting a lot of at-bats and, you know, these guys are filling in. Tommy Taveras is playing shortstop at BC for a key weekend series against us. So the development process that those guys had is going to allow them hopefully to continue to take the step forward. I believe it was Jonathan Batista who had a strong relief outing in the ACC tournament to beat Georgia Tech. Can he continue to take his strides forward? So there are a lot of at-bats to replace. There's a lot of innings to replace. But our roster is deep, and, you know, they just got to go out and do it.
When it comes to a pitching staff, you know, with the rotation versus the bullpen, how do you figure those as a complement, as units to each other, and kind of feeding off of what each other's able to do?
Yeah, there's a lot of competition within, and the one thing we've continued to try to stress is, you know, the ability to command 3 pitches for strikes, the ability to attack the zone and let your defense play will allow you to continue to get innings. And can we build a staff together, 12, 14 deep? You know, if we can do that, keep guys healthy, create some matchups, put guys in successful situations, it allows them to not only breathe success, breathe confidence, but also be able to recover and have that consistent confidence throughout the season.
You've been close to an NCAA tournament berth the last couple of years. Is that building kind of a fire inside your guys? You're close, and now it's time to take that next step?
I think so. I think, you know, it's one of the things we've talked about from day one. I think this is year 5 for us here. You know, when Heather was, you know, when I was fortunate enough to meet with Heather, and she hired us to come in here and do a job, it was to compete for championships. And it's something that we continue to talk about. The ability to go on to postseason, whether it's an ACC championship, regional championship, you know, those type of things. We preach about it with our guys. Those are expectations. They're not goals. They're expectations here. And you see it throughout our athletic department, what's going on with volleyball and how it spreads over to men's soccer and what football's been able to accomplish. And you see with basketball right now, putting yourself in position, survive the grind of the league, you can put yourself in position to compete for championships.
You signed an extension in the summer, I believe it was through 2027, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you that you now have that vote of confidence? You talked about with what Heather Light was able to build here with these Olympic programs. What does it mean that you have that vote of confidence to be able to continue this whole process for at least another 5 years?
I think about the players. I think about the commitment to them. Whether it's future guys you're recruiting, future families you're recruiting, to hear their voice of that they're glad to hear things. When you see the players returning back to campus and the smiles on their faces, the continuity goes a long way. And we've got a large contingent of that within our staff that's been here since day one. And I think just having a level of continuity breeds the confidence. Yeah, her support with us, showing what we've been able to not only accomplish, but build and continue to hopefully grow. It just allows us to continue to do what we love to do. And that's continue to work with these fine student athletes and put ourselves in position to hopefully compete for championships.
That extension had to go a long way in recruiting too.
100%. When families, when future recruits know what it's going to look like, when they see commitment with Victory Heights and with facilities and with administration and everything that's going on here, it just adds to everything.
You're talking about, next man up, all that stuff, returning guys. Over the fall, through the winter, what are you expecting and what have you seen from these returning guys, to step up as a leader on and off the field for the new guys that are coming in?
The word leader, and when you say leaders or captains within a baseball team or any athletic team, I think they can come in a lot of different ways. Some guys are vocal guys. Some guys are comfortable speaking to their peers. Some guys are rah-rah guys. Some guys are leaders by example. And I think when you see what goes on with our program, not that it teaches itself, but the continuity of the staff, the continuity of the consistency of the word of what we're trying to accomplish, residents through the players, but seeing how they come back and they lead by example and bring along, you know, a young freshman of this is the way that we do things. This is why we do things. It's taking not only a junior college guy or maybe a 4-year grad transfer who maybe has done something his way for 3 or 4 years. This is the way we do it. You know, not taking away from what their strengths are, but within our system and our program, and it's been kind of neat to see.
Anything else?
All good?
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Mike.
Take